Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Sophie and today I want to talk to you about all the books I read in August. The first book I read is Henry VI Part 3 by Shakespeare. I sadly can't show the book to you here because I left it in my student flat when I went there earlier in August. But I'll try to put a picture here, but I don't know if I can manage that with my editing skills yet, so let's see. Ever since 2013, when I discovered a BBC miniseries called The White Queen about the novel of the same name by Philippa Gregory, I got really excited about the Wars of the Roses. And so earlier in July I read Richard III, and now I read Henry VI Part 3, because that is kind of the period when the Wars of the Roses are mainly led by the House of York and Edward IV as king. And that's the period I'm really excited about because of the people, and especially the women, which Philippa Gregory talks about a lot, like Jaquetta Woodville and Elizabeth Woodville, Queen to Edward IV, and so I decided to read the Shakespeare plays that cover that period of time. I've liked Shakespeare for a long time and was lucky enough to see 2 plays already from the Globe Theatre in London, and completely fell in love with his kind of making drama and the language, and so I thought, as I'm a fan of the Wars of the Roses and wanted to learn more, it was a good thing to read Shakespeare and his take on things. I'm probably going to read the first 2 parts as well, but I don't own them yet, and I first kind of want to get into the books I own, so let's see when that's gonna happen. The next book I read is The Transvestite Achilles by P.J. Heslin, or Peter Heslin as he's sometimes known as. Now this is kind of an unusual book, and I read this for my bachelor thesis, which I wrote and handed in the middle of August. And I wrote about a Handel opera, his last opera, composed in 1741, called Deidamia, in which he covers the story of the young Achilles on the island of Skyros, or Skyros, where Achilles is disguised and hidden by his mother in female clothing, so as not to fulfill the prophecy about him going to the Trojan War and dying there and thus not returning home. And his mother, Thetis, a goddess, is afraid of that, of course, and decides to hide him. And in Handel's opera, Achilles is not only a man disguised as a woman, but he's also sung by a woman. So it's kind of a double gender bend, and I've always been really interested in gender studies. And this book actually covers the background material of the Roman epic The Achilleid by Statius, which covers Achilles' youth and was actually meant to cover all of his life, but it's only a fragment that is known to us now. And Peter Heslin picks apart all the reasons and societal issues that come with Achilles, the huge and probably greatest Greek hero, being disguised as a girl. Next up is a bit of a controversial read, as you may say, and it is Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer. This came out very recently on the 4th of August. It is a companion novel to what we all know is Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. It is the story told from Edward's point of view. Now, as a lot of us were, I was really excited about Twilight when I was about 13, 14 years old, and of course I was surprised and excited to read this when it came out. Now, I'm very aware about all the issues and the discussion around Stephenie Meyer and the problematic elements of her works, but I still wanted to read this because I think, with all the discussion in the past years, I think Stephenie Meyer wasn't treated very well, if you know what I mean. Some say that it's all because we like to pick apart what teenage girls like. We've seen that with the Twilight phenomenon and things like One Direction and all the kinds of huge fan bases made up of mainly teenage girls. As to my opinion about it, I really liked it. I never thought Twilight would hold quite the same excitement for me when I was going to reread it, which I haven't done to this day, but this is kind of a lot thicker than the original Twilight, which is about 350 something pages, and this is actually about 750 pages. So it's a lot richer, and I think Stephenie Meyer has evolved a lot over the years in her writing style, and of course the story is still made for teenage girls, but it is just hugely enjoyable, and it was a really nice, like, escapist read. And while I was at it, I really wanted to get to the next stage and know what is going to happen next, because over the years I just forgot quite some details about what was going on in the Twilight series, so I actually made my way through New Moon as well. I'm not going to say much about this, but yeah, it was a really nice time and a kind of summer holiday read. The next book I finished is Period Power by Maisie Hill. As I already talked about this book in my 5 Feminist Essentials video, I'm going to link that up. I don't know which side it is, and I'm only going to introduce you briefly to this. Maisie Hill is a women's health practitioner from England, and in this book she introduces you to all the aspects and possible issues with the female cycle. It's a really helpful book, as at least in Germany where I live, a lot of doctors and gynecologists are not very varied in their offered treatments or their search for uncommon issues, and I've struggled a lot with my cycle over the years myself, and so I started reading this in the hope of discovering something more. And I can't recommend it more to you because it has helped me so much to get to know myself and my body and to help myself with my health. Maisie Hill's writing style is very direct and easily understandable. You don't need any kind of medical foreknowledge or something, and she's actually quite funny sometimes. It's also very enjoyable. It took me quite a while to finish this because it's still not that small, but is absolutely worthwhile, so I hugely recommend this for anyone wanting to know more about their cycle. The last 2 books I want to talk about I both read in German, and I don't think they have been translated into English as of yet, so I'll try to link a translation or at least link the German edition, and for the first one it's originally in French, so I'll try to find that edition if that helps. The first book is Überlegungen zur Frage des Antisemitismus by Delphine Horvilleur. I won't try to read the French title as my French is not very good yet and that could go horribly wrong, so I'll just try to explain what it's about. As you could have probably guessed, it's about anti-Semitism, and I've been really interested in that subject recently because we're talking about a lot of right-wing movements and problematic political developments with racism and everything in the last few months. So I really wanted to know more about that and also read from various perspectives in the world, which is always my aim. And so I found this in a bookshop recently and just bought it in an impulse buy. Delphine Horvilleur is a French rabbi, and I will show you her photo. You can probably see that here. She's relatively young and quite progressive, so it's very interesting how she writes about what the 100-year-old issue of anti-Semitism means and where it comes from and how it develops and how it manifests itself in society and in different kind of societies all over the world. And as a woman, she also covers what anti-Semitism has to do with feminism, which is quite fascinating, as you wouldn't at first think that one roots in the other, but it actually does. She writes in a very concise and eloquent style that you can easily follow, and it flows well, and I really think this is worth reading for anyone wanting to know more about anti-Semitism and what it has to do with racism, feminism and all kinds of political and societal issues. And the last book is the one I talked about in my introduction video, which I will also link up there. I was currently reading that when I filmed that video and have since then finished it. So it is Sprache und Sein by Kobra Gümüsay. She is a Turkish-German author, and she talks about what language means to her and to society in general, and to your feeling of where you come from and your sense of belonging and what it does to you and how you see the world. It is really interesting in that she comes at it from a very personal, but also in other chapters from a very political and intellectual perspective, and it is very open in that it covers a lot of societies and a lot of different languages and cultures in the world. But it is kind of difficult to sum up what she says because it's a very complex theme and you really would need to read the whole book to get her idea. And as she herself states in the book, it is not her aim to provide a conclusive answer of what language and society should be and what the solutions to her problems today are, so it is more of a speculative kind of thinking that she provides in this book. To help with understanding what this book means, I want to read a quote to you, which I translated from German myself, as this has not been translated into English yet. This book aspires to be read as a contribution in the search of a language in which all of us can exist as humans in all our complexity, as a meditation on the way towards realizing our ideals in a better society. I think this sums up this book quite well, and I think it is a revolutionary work in the way we think about language and how it shapes our view of the world. Thank you so much for watching. As always, all the books will be linked down in the description box and all the other videos as well. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have, maybe leave a like, a comment, or subscribe down there. I would really appreciate that. And I hope to see you guys very soon in my next video. Bye!